Welcome back. I want to talk to you a little bit about the language of the fan. In the Victorian period, young people were just like they are today. They wanted to get acquainted with one another, but they didn't go traveling around all over the countryside as they do today, unchaperoned. Young people were always chaperoned. And so if they were in a gathering with a lot of other folk, the language of the fan was very important. A young married woman would signal that she was married by fanning very slowly. People married early, and she might be very, very beautiful, but she didn't want the attentions of some other young man. She was married, so she would fan very slowly. A young woman who would certainly like to meet some handsome young gentleman would fan quickly like this to indicate that she was available, with the proper introduction, of course. And certainly a young man would not be brash enough to rush up to her in a gathering and try to introduce himself, because her older brother or her father or her uncle would quietly escort him to one side and say, "Young man, you're very rude. You may leave now." But the discreet young man would find out her name and find her older brother or her father or uncle or some responsible gentleman of the community and say, "I am a very nice young man, and I would certainly like to meet Miss So-and-so." And if he could get an introduction, then it was all right for him to visit with her. Now, the young women of the day, many of them, played the piano. And what could be a better way than to sit not too close to the young woman as she played and turn the pages of the music for her. And certainly if you were conversing with her and the young woman observed that her chaperone, her mother or her auntie or some other matron of the community thought he was getting a little too fresh, she would want to send him a signal to back off. And so she would casually touch her fan to her eye, which meant, "We're being watched. Move away a little bit." And if she were very angry with the young man, she might very rapidly tap her wrist with the fan, saying, "I don't like what you're doing," or "I don't like what you're saying." Now, a young married woman might also use this signal if her husband got off with some of the other gentlemen and got to talking about fishing or hunting or whatever and was not paying proper attention to her. If she could catch his eye, she would tap her wrist, and he knew he'd better at once see what his wife wanted in this gathering, or he might not be too happy when they got home. When they were going out somewhere in a group of young people, there was always a chaperone present. And the young ladies took their fans, if they were allowed by their mother and father, to go to say something at the Opera House in Tahlequah. There wasn't an opera house in Tahlequah during the Victorian period. But a young woman didn't just go out with the young man. She had a chaperone to go along. And she would certainly take her fan to send some unspoken messages to her escort. You know, young people in that day fell in love and got married. They didn't do it the same way as we do today, but there are certainly always ways to send messages to each other and to become acquainted. So that is just a part of the language of the fan.
About 2 years, and we're glad to invite you to tour the home and see what a fine architect we had in Lynchburg, Virginia. Now, of course, we had to make some modifications for our lifestyle here in the Indian Territory, particularly the Cherokee Nation. But I hope you do take time to enjoy the home. Ms. Murrell is telling me that our old cabin is going to become a rose garden. I look forward to seeing that being planted. Before I go too much farther, I'd like to acknowledge Chief John Ross, his brother, and my father-in-law, Lewis Ross. Many distinguished members of the Cherokee National Council are here, as well as Reverend Berthold, Reverend Worcester, and Reverend Jones, who